My name is Harold Jenkins. I'm 71 years old, retired, and living in a quiet little town just outside of Cincinnati. For most of my life, I consider myself pretty healthy. Raised 3 kids, worked 40 years at the post office, and even mowed my own lawn well into my 60s. But over the past year, something started changing, slowly, silently, and without warning. It began with me waking up once a night to pee. No big deal, right? They became twice, then 3 times. Before long, I was up almost every hour. I'd lie there staring at the ceiling, counting the minutes until I had to shuffle back to the bathroom. My sleep was in pieces. I was groggy all day, grumpy with my grandkids, and constantly worrying if I'd make it through a movie or car ride without needing a bathroom break. One night, around 3 a.m., I was back in the bathroom for the 4th time. I looked at myself in the mirror, tired eyes, sagging skin, and thought, this can't be normal. That week, I made an appointment with Dr. Rourke. He's a kind man with silver hair and sharp eyes, probably a few years younger than me. He ran a few tests, asked some questions, and then looked me square in the eye and said, "Harold, your prostate is enlarging. And it's not just age. It's your daily habits that are silently making things worse." That shook me. He went on to list 10 habits, 10 small things I've been doing for years that were contributing to my misery. That day changed everything. So, I want to share with you exactly what my doctor told me and how I turned it around. Maybe, just maybe, it'll help you too. Looking back, the signs were there long before I stepped into Dr. Rourke's office. It wasn't just the nighttime bathroom trips. I started noticing it during the day too, this nagging urge to pee, even when I had just gone 10 minutes earlier. Then came the weak stream. I'd stand there in front of the toilet, waiting, sometimes pushing just to get started. And once I was done, it never really felt done. I'd walk away thinking I was finished, only to feel that discomfort again a few minutes later, like my bladder was playing tricks on me. Still, I brushed it off. It's just part of getting older, I told myself. Nothing to worry about. That little voice in my head kept convincing me to put off the doctor visit. I didn't want to be poked and prodded. I didn't want to be told something was seriously wrong. But the tipping point came when I started feeling embarrassed to go out. I mapped out restrooms before leaving the house. I skipped fishing trips with my buddies. And when my grandson asked me to sit through his school play, all I could think about was the nearest exit. So I finally gave in. Dr. Rourke was calm and gentle, but he didn't sugarcoat a thing. After a digital rectal exam and a PSA blood test, he sat me down and gave me the truth. "Harold," he said, "yes, your prostate is enlarging. But this isn't just old age. A lot of it comes down to how you're living your life." That caught me off guard. "Your daily habits," he continued, "are quietly feeding this problem. The good news is you can change them and things can get better." That moment was my wake-up call. Habit 10, not drinking enough water. One of the first things Dr. Rourke asked me was, "How much water do you drink each day?" I chuckled and replied, "Well, Doc, I try not to drink too much. Don't want to be running to the bathroom more than I already am." He didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned forward and said, "That right there is one of the biggest mistakes men your age make." I was stunned. I thought I was doing myself a favor by limiting fluids, especially in the evening. But he explained that when we don't drink enough water, our urine becomes more concentrated, darker, more acidic, and far more irritating to the bladder and prostate. That irritation causes inflammation, and inflammation leads to more swelling and more nighttime urgency. He told me to stop fearing water. Instead of gulping down a glass all at once, he recommended I sip slowly throughout the day, just enough to stay hydrated without overwhelming my bladder. So that's what I did. I filled a small bottle each morning and kept it by my recliner. I took little sips every half hour, even if I wasn't thirsty. By the end of the first week, I noticed my urine was much lighter, almost clear, and surprisingly, I wasn't waking up as much during the night. It felt like magic, but it was just hydration. Turns out, something as simple as water, something I've been avoiding, was one of the best allies I had in this fight. Habit 9, sitting for too long. Before all this, a typical day for me looked like this. Wake up, eat breakfast, settle into my favorite armchair, and spend hours flipping channels, doing crosswords, and reading the paper. Some days, I'd realize I'd been sitting for nearly 4 hours straight without getting up once. I never imagined that something so ordinary could be causing such damage. Dr. Rourke explained that long periods of sitting create pressure in the pelvic region, right where the prostate sits. That pressure reduces blood flow, encourages inflammation, and can make symptoms worse. Your prostate, he said, doesn't like being squished all day. He told me, set a timer. Every 30 minutes, stand up and walk around. Even a short walk to the kitchen and back helps. It sounded simple enough, so I gave it a try. I programmed my watch to buzz every half hour. When it did, I'd stand up, stretch, maybe walk down the hallway and back, refill my water bottle. It felt silly at first, like I was babysitting myself. But after a few days, I noticed something remarkable. I wasn't feeling that same pelvic heaviness anymore. And at night, I wasn't waking up nearly as often to pee. It wasn't about avoiding rest. It was about avoiding stagnation. Sitting all day was slowly working against me, and I hadn't even known it. Now, movement is part of my daily rhythm, and my prostate is all the better for it. Habit 8. Too much caffeine. I've loved coffee for as long as I can remember. 4 cups a day, every day, 2 in the morning, 1 after lunch, and 1 around 4 p.m. It was my ritual. That warm, bold flavor made me feel sharp, alive. Honestly, it was one of the few things I looked forward to after retirement. But during my appointment, Dr. Rourke asked, "How much caffeine are you drinking?" When I told him, his brow furrowed. Caffeine, he explained, is a diuretic. It makes you urinate more, but it also irritates the muscles around the bladder and prostate, especially when consumed in large amounts. He said it increases urgency, causes spasms, and can even make it harder to fully empty the bladder. I didn't want to give up my coffee, but I agreed to cut back. I replaced my second and third cups with herbal teas. At first, it wasn't easy. Those first few afternoons I was dragging. But then something surprising happened. I discovered hibiscus tea. It had a tart, fruity taste and made me feel calm and refreshed. Within a week, I was sleeping more soundly and feeling fewer sudden urges. I still enjoy 1 cup of coffee in the morning, black, no sugar, but that's it. The rest of the day, I stick to water and tea. Turns out, caffeine was doing more harm than good. Giving most of it up felt like a loss at first. Now it feels like freedom. Habit 7. Spicy and processed foods. I was raised in a Midwest kitchen where meat was the main event and flavor came from heat and salt. Sausage for breakfast, spicy wings on game night, a bag of chips almost daily. These were my staples. I didn't think twice about it. But Dr. Rourke gave me a reality check. He explained that spicy foods, especially things loaded with black pepper and hot sauces, can trigger inflammation in the prostate. When your body is already sensitive, he said, these irritants throw gasoline on the fire. And processed foods? Even worse. The preservatives, sodium, and bad fats don't just affect your waistline. They also mess with your hormones and contribute to internal swelling, including in the prostate. That really made me think. I never saw my plate as a source of prostate problems, but it made sense. I was feeding my symptoms every day and didn't even realize it. So, I made some changes. I started by cutting back on spicy dishes. No more hot sauce on everything. Then I tackled the processed stuff. I swapped frozen meals for simple home cooking. Grilled chicken replaced sausages. Steamed broccoli and roasted carrots became my go-to sides. At first, everything tasted bland. But over time, I found joy in real flavors. Garlic, olive oil, herbs, lemon. I even started watching cooking videos for seniors with prostate issues. Now, I eat with intention. Not just for taste, but for healing. And wouldn't you know it? My digestion improved. My bathroom trips became less urgent. Food became part of the solution, not the problem. Habit 6. Holding urine in. One habit I had, without even thinking, was holding my urine. If I was watching a good football game, stuck in the checkout line, or just too comfortable in my chair, I'd wait. Sometimes for an hour or more. I figured I was just being tough or efficient, like I didn't want to waste time on another bathroom trip. Dr. Rourke raised his eyebrows when I told him. That, he said, is one of the worst things you can do. He explained that holding in urine stretches the bladder like a balloon. And since the prostate sits just below it, that pressure gets transferred downward irritating the already sensitive gland. Over time, this can lead to inflammation, swelling, and more trouble emptying the bladder completely, which just restarts the cycle. He told me to listen to my body. If you feel the urge, don't delay. Go. It sounded too simple, but I gave it a shot. From that day on, I made a rule. No more ignoring the signal. Whether I was grocery shopping, at church, or halfway through a movie, I got up and went. After about 2 weeks, I noticed something remarkable. I didn't feel that same nagging pressure down low. My urgency decreased, and I no longer had those sudden jolts of pain. Turns out, respecting your body signals really does matter. Habit 5. Exposure to smoking. I've never smoked a cigarette in my life. Always hated the smell. But my wife, Elaine, was a smoker for nearly 40 years. She quit once, relapsed, tried again, typical story. I never pressured her because I figured it was her battle to fight. But during my visit, Dr. Rourke asked, "Are you around anyone who smokes regularly?" I nodded. My wife, sometimes on the porch. He sighed. Even secondhand smoke affects the prostate. The chemicals in tobacco reduce blood flow, increase inflammation, and damage sensitive tissues, especially in men over 60. It doesn't just raise the risk of cancer, Harold. It can worsen every symptom you're dealing with right now. That hit me hard. I never connected her smoking to my prostate problems. When I told Elaine what the doctor said, something shifted. She didn't say much at first. But the next morning, she walked into the kitchen, looked me in the eyes, and said, "I'm quitting. For you. For us." She tossed out her cigarettes and called her doctor for help. We started walking together in the evenings to keep her cravings in check. That one decision became a turning point for both of us. Her health improved. My symptoms eased, and our bond grew even stronger. Sometimes, the hardest changes bring the deepest rewards. And for me, that small sacrifice Elaine made was one of the most beautiful acts of love. Habit 4. Skipping doctor visits. For most of my life, I had this saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I applied that to everything, my old truck, the leaky faucet in the kitchen, and unfortunately, my own health. I figured if I wasn't in pain, there was no need to bother a doctor. I'd skip checkups, ignore reminders, and only showed up at the clinic if something was unbearable. That mindset nearly cost me. When I finally saw Dr. Rourke, he explained how prostate problems don't always come with screaming symptoms. It creeps up quietly, he said. By the time the pain shows up, it's often more advanced. Thankfully, we caught mine early, a mild enlargement, manageable without drugs or surgery. He recommended routine PSA blood tests and yearly digital exams, just to monitor things. Since then, I've made it a habit. Once a year, no excuses. I go in, get checked, and leave with peace of mind. To any man reading this, let me say, don't be shy and don't be scared. It's not about pride. It's about prevention. Those quick checkups could save you months or even years of suffering. Getting ahead of the problem is a whole lot easier than trying to fix it after the damage is done. Habit 3. Too much red meat. I'll admit it. I was a steak guy through and through. Porterhouse, T-bone, ribs on the grill. If it had red meat in it, I was happy. It was a staple in my diet for decades. But during one of my follow-up appointments, Dr. Rourke asked about my eating habits and shook his head. Too much red meat, especially processed meats like bacon and sausage, has been linked to inflammation, and not just in your heart. Your prostate feels it too. He explained how saturated fats and chemical preservatives can irritate the prostate, throw off hormone levels, and slow digestion, all of which make urinary problems worse. I wasn't ready to go vegan, but I was ready to listen. So I made a deal with myself. Red meat only once a week. Instead of steak on Tuesdays and burgers on Fridays, I swapped in grilled salmon, lentil soup, and even tried a few vegetarian chili recipes. And you know what? It wasn't bad at all. Over the next couple of months, I lost a bit of weight, felt less bloated, and most importantly, my prostate symptoms began to ease. Fewer bathroom trips, less pressure, and a lot more energy. Turns out, you don't need a steak to feel strong. You just need to eat smart. Sometimes the biggest changes come from the smallest cuts, off your plate. Habit 2, belly fat. After I retired, I slowed down a lot. No more running around delivering mail. My days were filled with naps, television, and too many slices of pie. Before I knew it, I had a noticeable belly, something I used to joke about, calling it my retirement trophy. But Dr. Rourke didn't find it funny. Belly fat, he told me, isn't just weight. It's a hormonal disruptor. That fat produces inflammatory chemicals that affect your prostate, your testosterone levels, even your bladder. He explained that the extra pressure from abdominal fat pushes down on pelvic organs, making urination more difficult and more frequent. Worse still, it messes with hormone balance, raising estrogen, lowering testosterone, all of which can enlarge the prostate. That was the final push I needed. I started walking every morning, just 30 minutes through the neighborhood, nothing fancy. I also cut down on sugar, no more sweetened drinks or afternoon cookies. Over a few months, I dropped 10 pounds. And I felt it, not just in my genes, but in my energy, in the way I slept, and in how I control my bladder. Fewer leaks, fewer sprints to the bathroom. Losing that belly didn't just help my appearance, it helped my prostate find some peace. Habit 1. Ignoring stress. All my life, I've been the one others leaned on. The provider, the problem solver, the man who never cracks. Even when I was overwhelmed, I kept my feelings bottled up. Talking about stress just wasn't something men like me did. But one of my checkups, Dr. Rourke brought up something unexpected. Stress. Chronic stress, he said, is like slow poison for your prostate. It raises cortisol, tightens pelvic muscles, throws off your hormones, and weakens your immune system. Over time, it wears your body down, and your prostate is one of the first to feel it. That made me pause. I realized I'd been carrying stress like a backpack of bricks, worries about money, my kids, my health. No wonder I felt tense all the time. So, I made a change. I started journaling in the mornings, just a few thoughts a day. I learned some simple breathing exercises. But the biggest shift came from letting myself laugh again, especially with my grandkids. I made a goal to smile, to play, to enjoy little moments. And wouldn't you believe it? My sleep improved, the pain lessened, and I stopped waking up soaked in anxiety at 3 a.m. Letting go of stress didn't make me weaker. It made me whole.